Deku has finally revealed the second One For All user's quirk, and it is absolutely broken.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
This ability increases the speed in any given direction of anything Deku touches. It has gears. With these gears, Deku copies Luffy's flow.
He copied my whole fucking flow!
He activates Black Air Force energy and wants all the smoke from the very start, activating the second quirk straight away with all the gears going into overdrive. With our degree in anime bullshit science, we are going to break it down and explain how broken Deku has just become. As we explained last week, he has long surpassed Prime All Might. He's much stronger than we expected. Chapter 368 starts with Deku calming down from going full berserk. He has arrived and he is looking for Shigaraki, as he asks All For One if he is still in there. Deku promised to save him, and he intends to fulfill that promise at all costs. However, All For One is in control. Shigaraki is gone, but we all know he lied. Especially since he was just a puppet to All For One. Shigaraki, ever since he was a kid, was molded in the image of his design. His thoughts weren't just his, they were implanted by All For One. Even his look was chosen for him, with the hands being a cage to Shigaraki's past. These hands never let him forget that trauma, shunned by every aspect of it. Even this nice looking grinding, for example. This was because of his decayed look. His hands metaphorically highlighting Shigaraki's blindness to the truth. Deku's promise to save him will unveil the reality. He will hold out his hand just as the second user did for Yuichi, or Bakugo did for him, and vice versa. The first hero to reach out to Shigaraki, upholding the selfless values he dreamed for when he was a child. Shigaraki never had the chance to discover who he truly was by himself, making his will lesser than All For One, who has lived for over a century dominating a child who is still trapped in the past. All For One then directly addresses Deku, taunting him that this fight won't be as easy as Deku expects. He lied. However, Mirio interrupts, informing Deku that there is still hope that Shigaraki is in there. At the start of Mirio's battle with Shigaraki, he went crazy after being provoked. Shigaraki's childish tendencies are still present. A full transformation into All For One hasn't manifested yet, hinting that Shigaraki might be fighting his own battle inside his head against All For One's betrayal. And Deku will be the one that helps push forward to break the shackles, as a hero is the strongest when they are trying to save somebody. Here, Deku is fighting to not only save the world, but Nana Shimura's grandson, a lonely, scared little boy, Tenko Shimura. When Shigaraki and All For One invaded the Vestige world in chapter 286, Deku saw firsthand the relationship of Shigaraki and All For One. It wasn't like the passing of the torch we explained last week, but rather a selfish manipulation to get his new body by All For One. Deku felt Shigaraki's feelings just like he felt the struggle of the previous One For All users. That's why in chapter 305, when Nana Shimura was testing his resolve as a hero, he wanted to save the little boy Tenko, who is trapped inside Tomura Shigaraki. Shigaraki, in a sense, is the first ever Nomu as mentioned by Dr. Garaki. Just like people are turned into Nomus with no will of their own, trapped inside the beastly prison, Tenko needs to be saved from the Nomu Shigaraki. The end of this fight will showcase the hands behind Shigaraki, finally letting him go as he takes Deku's hand, being released from his past. Moving back to chapter 368, All For One jumps, creating a literal earthquake, threatening Deku that he is about to steal One For All today. He lied. He hits Deku with a smash, destroying the ground, but Deku is unfazed. He proclaims that nothing will go as All For One has planned, hitting him with a Farjin Black Whip combo, calling it Black Chain. Deku throws All For One, but he breaks free, because although it's a stronger version of the combo, he won't fall for the same trick twice. He lied once again. So Deku decides to finally put a stop to this menace to society. He prepares himself in activating the second user's quirk. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm hyped. Yes, Deku's final quirk is here. The second user's vestige appears to guide him through it. He tells Deku that if he is going to use his quirk, then he needs to end this quickly. The second eludes the maximum time limit in using his quirk, the infamous 5-minute limit in anime. You know, we saw it in Dragon Ball Z, Black Clover, One Piece, and much more. I'm a shonen tad, guys. I see big muscles, big fighting powers, bush. Me likey, I like that stuff.
Maza aaya.
Essentially, if Deku can't defeat All For One within that period, then the world is doomed. And in my opinion, the story won't allow Deku to achieve this victory on his own within those 5 minutes, because Bakugo will return with his new heart in that time limit after blood flows throughout his body again. As stated before, Deku's 6 quirks are originally support powers rather than offensive. Therefore, this will allow Bakugo and other heroes to join to fight on equal ground with them. Regardless, this doesn't stop Deku from going berserk. Deku grabs his right hand, calling out the second quirk, Transmission. With lightning speed, Deku uppercuts All For One out of nowhere. Freaking like Randy Orton out in this bitch. This impact is faster than the speed of sound, which Mirio commented on, which mind you, is much faster than All Might. At a minimum, Deku is going over 761 miles per hour, confirming my analysis from last week that his power level is twice as All Might's. You must hit the notification bell for our channel so you don't miss out on these key details. Using my degree in anime bullshit science, I am going to calculate for you the difference between All Might and Deku to prove how he is stronger than not only the prime All Might, but all the characters by a vast margin. To calculate All Might's speed equals distance over time. In chapter 90, All For One states that the distance from the bar to All Might was about 5 kilometers, which took All Might round about 30 seconds to cover. Plugging these numbers into my calculator, All Might was traveling at a whopping 600 kilometers per hour, or about 373 miles per hour. To put this figure into perspective, the fastest land animal on Earth, the cheetah, is recorded to have reached speeds of 109 to 120 kilometers per hour, whilst the fastest bird is the peregrine falcon, which can reach 389 kilometers per hour, or about 242 miles per hour. So what I'm basically saying is that All Might in his weakened state was the fastest living being on planet Earth. But now that's changed. It's Deku. All Might in his weakened state was able to use 100% one for all, and you can argue that in his prime he might have been faster. But then you have to remember that Deku has only mastered 45% one for all and is only using that amount of power right now in combination with the other quirks. So even with 45% and in combination with these quirks, he has already outsped All Might. If Deku decides to use 100% one for all, this will quadruple or become tenfold. In chapter 368, we can see that All For One is literally yeeted, fam. He's yeeted upwards and he's seemingly confused. Last chapter, Deku shared a I am here moment with All Might, becoming the new symbol of hope. Yet again, he parallels his sensei by matching his feat from season 1 against the Nomu. All For One doesn't know where the attack came from, reinforcing that Deku is moving so quickly that All For One's eyes and mind cannot comprehend it. Mind you, All For One is a merged being with Shigaraki, who through extensive procedure has a body unlike anything on the planet, becoming a demon. This body modification gave him insane stats from immense strength, durability, stamina and speed. But on top of all of that, his body can undergo accelerated regeneration and growth, allowing him to adapt to any change. All For One, realizing the energy covering Deku's body is way stronger than before. He starts getting scared, shaking in his boots. His biggest enemy throughout his life wasn't All Might, it wasn't Nana, rather it was the second user. Yes, the second user was the first leader of the resistance who stood in opposition against All For One's ideals. He was the very reason All For One's brother Yuichi was able to stand up to him, being the first person to inherit Yuichi's powers, starting the chain of transmission for One For All, hence the name of the quirk. All For One no doubt must hate the second more than anyone, and now Deku is harnessing his power beyond its full effect. The second tells Deku that his transmission quirk, due to the singularity, is way stronger than the time he used it. This also explains why the second user prohibited Deku from using the quirk back in chapter 349 when Deku wanted to reach Shigaraki faster. Deku going at this speed, which for sure is close to the speed of a rocket, is putting a tremendous strain on his body. Gravity itself becomes heavier on Deku as his velocity increases. If Gear's second was faster than the speed of sound, his further gears must be ridiculous. The fastest aircraft in the world is the North American X-15, which produces speed up to Mach 7. The pilot who is manning this aircraft has to withstand the G-force of 9 times that of gravity. A trained human is said to be maxed out at 10 G before suffering permanent injury or even death. However, Deku most definitely is moving faster than Mach 7 in overdrive. Hell, even Tom Cruise was traveling faster than that in Top Gun. This means Deku's body is undergoing a G-force much greater than 10. Even at an acceleration of 9 Gs, your body feels 9 times heavier than usual. Blood rushes to the feet and the heart can't pump hard enough to bring it to the brain. This can make your brain dead in seconds. Unlike Luffy in his Gear second, Deku's heart and brain can't stretch. So 5 minutes of this will most likely put Deku out of commission, therefore giving context why the second user said it's a last resort and too dangerous. So whilst increasing the gears, Deku wastes no time and goes in for another blow. He goes from second, third to his 4th gear, which he dubs top. As we mentioned earlier, the velocity increase from the transmission quirk is on anything Deku touches. So he isn't the only one who is drastically increasing in speed. Rather, with every punch, so is All For One. Now you're probably wondering, ABD, use your degree in anime bullshit science please. How fast is Deku's punches right now? Well, luckily for you, I have also calculated how he puts All Might to shame, being way faster and stronger than him in every way. For example, after All Might returns to Japan, he would face All For One for the first time. This is the same incident which happened 6 years prior to the start of My Hero Academia, where he sustained his injuries. This hurt his overall strength, as during his fight against the Nomu at UA, he told us that if he was in his prime, he could have beaten the Nomu in 5 punches. However, since All Might's nerf, it took him 300 punches after the injury from All For One. So if we divide 300 by 5, we will find out how much weaker All Might has gotten, which is 60 times. To put it into perspective, we know how strong All Might was, but now you have to times that by 60 for his prime raw power. All Might threw 300 punches in the span of 40 seconds if you watch the anime, so this also displays his raw speed whilst nerfed. That means All Might can throw 7 to 8 100% one for all punches a second, as Deku confirmed to us that he was using his full power against Nomu. All Might still defeated All For One in their second bout when he was about 60 times weaker to his prime. On the other hand, Deku with the second quirk would be able to not only surpass prime All Might, but also throw even more punches than 300 in 40 seconds. Rather, it would be 600 at a minimum. Chapter 368 practically effectively spells it out for everyone that the second user's quirk in combination with others allows Deku to use 120% one for all rather than the normal 100% that All Might or the other people were using beforehand. So the impact of the force Deku is dishing out is insane, with force equaling mass and acceleration. We know that force is directly boosted with the increased acceleration. However, what makes this even crazier is that the multiplication of the force isn't just on Deku's punch, which alone is incredibly powerful. The overall force is much greater as All For One is also accelerating with every touch of transmission. It's like a speeding car. If it hits a non-moving object, the impact is devastating. But if two speeding cars are hitting each other, the force is multiplied. However, with Deku, he isn't taking any impact like the car would, as the trajectory of the force is only going in one direction. So he's even more OP, making him durable. The moment Deku delivers his punch, any force and speed is pushed away from Deku himself. This means all of the impact is going to All For One. He's suffering right now, he's hurt. As Deku continues his chains of hits, he instantly appears behind All For One's trajectory and strikes with one last blow at a further increased velocity, his Gear 5 Overdrive. With All For One getting his brain busted open, fam, with Deku's Detroit smash, his brother Yuichi Vestige appears, saying, "Brother, today is the day we finally put an end to this bitch." Yes. Now, you should go watch this video on your screen right now where we explain One For All Incomplete and its whole story, including the backstory of all the quirk users, as it is important to understand the story right now.